nice colonial background already. Nobody does that. I'm using all original tools, except for the blowpipe. All the other tools and the mold are original.
Yeah, that was a cool. Why don't you show it to the? Found a jug made of a mold from a Continental era glass factory.
You need to have one of those.
You can see over here we have classic trapper's camp. Oh, he's firing up the forge. We'll go over there and watch that in a second.
How are you, sir?
How's it going?
Looking at a market hunter's camp here. This is my campsite market hunters that went out and killed white-tailed deer. And they killed white-tailed deer to trade the hides for money. And the hides would then go to Europe and be used in the clothing making process for things like buckskin breeches.
I'm digging your jacket there. I actually have a couple buckskins at my house.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. Yeah, so when the hides come off the animal, obviously they have the hair and stuff on them, the flesh side there, and the meat and fat and membrane, so you got to scrape all that stuff off. Rot the hide a little bit to get the hair to slip. Once you can get the hair to slip, you can scrape the hair and the epidermis layer off, and then you're left with the hide itself. You tan the hide and brains, so this is tanned in a solution of brains and water. And then wring the hide out, and then you stretch it until the hide dries, and you're left with this, really nice flannel-like consistency.
Yeah, because then if not, it turns right, which is real super tough.
Now, if that white hide gets wet, it will turn back into raw hide. So the final process is smoking the hide. Smoke it over a low fire, and that's how you get the golden color. So you can see where the hide was white after the tanning process, and it's still white on the edges because I just seal it up like a big tube, and then let the smoke come up through the center of it, and then turn it inside out and do the same. And that's obviously where the buckskin color comes from. And so this would be a finished product. Could be sold to Europe that way. Might also sold in rawhide form. The Europeans would tan it. In the 18th century, they call that the Indian tanning method. It's actually a brain tanning method. So Market hunters camp, you know, they're pretty Spartan. There's not a lot to them. You'd see this scene replicated all throughout here. This would be a really greasy, nasty place to be with all the hides draped over.
And the
logs.
bones, and
Yeah.
they'd probably be boiling them for for tallow and rendering fat and.
Yep, and everybody would just be greasy and covered in blood and bits of meat, but that's how they made their money. I am wearing this buckskin jacket because it's a type of advertising in a way. If you think about it economically, a jacket made of money. But for the market hunters, especially the younger men, this was an advertising. See, I hunt so well that I have extra skins to make into clothing, so you should hire me.
Yeah, so you wwere wearing your status on your sleeve, so to speak.
Literally, yep. And so it's also like the only time of year I get to wear this because it's nice enough outside. Most of the time they're wearing linen hunting shirts like this.
That's a cotton.
This is
fiber.
linen. So linen hunting shirts, it becomes a distinct American garment, or it is a distinctly American garment. So you can see, like for example, the buckskin jacket that I'm wearing, it's made of a distinctly American material, brain tan buckskin, but it's cut from a European coat pattern. And there's an importance in that subtle difference in that it's, again, you see how American culture is starting to form with bits of European culture, bits of native culture, and it's truly becoming blending at that point. Linen hunting shirts are very similar, and so you got some linen fringe on there that's very similar to the fringe on this jacket, so it's more than likely a native type of native influence on a garment, but you never see these anywhere else in the world. These are distinctly American. The leggings here, these blue wool Stroud leggings, Stroud cloth being sold by the thousands of yards and trading posts like Fort Yargo. We know blue was the most common color in Georgia because that's the color that was sold the most, with red being second. I believe green was third and white was fourth.
That was like an indigo.
It's
color.
Indigo dyed, and so the way they do Stroud cloth is they hand sew a ribbon across both selvage edges of the material, and then they dye it, and then they take the ribbon off, and you're left with this white stripe with the little hand sewed where the stitches were. And that was a common trade. The natives just loved that material, and so they made breechcloths and dresses and match coats, which were like blanket, basically blankets worn as a coat. We know also that these type of blankets, these duffel blankets, were also sold or traded in trading posts like that. We know that red stripe example there is a red duffel blanket from what they're hand woven here now, but they were originally woven in England and then traded over here. And we know they were here because of a Dutch painter named Van Rek, who went across the Georgia frontier in the late 1600s, and he painted scenes and he painted pictures of paintings of Native Americans, and there's one here in Georgia wearing that red blanket. So we know that was here. Additionally, we have flintlock rifle, right? So this is an earlier style flintlock rifle. You can see it's shorter. It's not the taller versions later on. It's a heavier caliber gun. It is flintlock, so this piece of flint hits the steel, which ignites the spark, which sends the bullet on its way. So to load this gun, I'm not actually going to shoot it. I'll go through the loading process. I take my powder horn. This is a bison horn, and I pour the powder down into the powder measure. I pour the powder down in the barrel, and I reach into my hunting pouch here. And I get a bullet and some patch material.
And patch would have just been made out of anything spare, rags, stuff like that, as long as they were of a certain consistency.
So linen, right? Or cotton. Well, it would have obviously been natural material then. I've heard of leather patches being used as well. The thing is, like, so this gun likes certain types of material, right? So I get better accuracy out of this weight of linen. So this is what I use almost exclusively.
Do you actually shoot that gun for hunting and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that's actually, I don't do living histories much. I actually do hunt like this. Mm-hmm. So these deer minus the one that these deer that I've killed, and I brain tanned them. and I only do one living history a year, and it's pretty much this. The rest of the time, if I go out like this, I try to live like they live. So when you see like the wear and tear on my stuff is honest. Like, this is real deer blood and turkey blood, and that linen hunting shirt is nasty from the same greasy stuff, because that's what they did. So anyway, yes, I do hunt with this. So pour the powder down the barrel, and I put the patch material in my mouth to wet it, and I'll set it on top of the barrel like that. Start the ball down with my thumb, and then come back in here with a knife and cut the rest of it off. So that's about what's going to go down the barrel at that point. All right. Since I'm not going to shoot it, I got to take time to put it back. Then I take the ramrod, and I'm going to push all that stuff down on the bottom. Tamp it in, put the ramrod back, because if I lose it or if I break it, this gun is virtually useless. So next, I need to expose the pan here. The pan is going to hold more gunpowder, so I pour more gunpowder from my powder horn into the pan, and then close the frizz.
You ever heard the expression "a flash in the pan"?
Yes.
That's what that comes from.
Also, have you ever heard "don't go off half-cocked"?
Yes.
So half-cocked is a safety mechanism on a muzzleloader.
Trigger won't pull.
So yep, I've got the gun back at half-cocked now. So this is how I walk around. There's powder in the pan. I can then cover it with my hand if it's moist or drizzly or something outside. And then when it comes time to shoot the gun, I'm going to pull it. Obviously, I get the sight, or I pull the gun back to full cock. I get the sight picture by superimposing the sights on the target, and then when I pull the trigger, the flint
See that
comes
spark?
down, hits the frizzen, causes the sparks, knocks the frizzen out of the way, and then ignites the gunpowder in the pan, which burns through a touch hole in the side of the barrel, which ignites the powder and sends the bullet on its way. And then I get to do it all over again. Starting from
that's a 50 caliber ball?
54.
54, yeah. And the thing about that, these weapons is, there's a delay. There's a certain amount of wind up before you're gonna get your shot, and then the smoke in front of you gonna come through it, make sure whatever you just shot ain't charging straight at you, which is another.
I killed a doe this year, and I first of all, I missed several opportunities because I got the flash in the pan, but it never lit the main charge. So the deer finally comes by.
It just goes.
Yeah.
And nothing happens.
Looks like an 1860s photographer. Like, I just took the deer's picture, and they don't know what happened, so they run off, and then you just spent hours of your day wasted. So anyway, then I shot a doe this year, and you're talking about the smoke. Everything looked good. I pulled the trigger, and I didn't see anything. I didn't see any. I couldn't tell if I hit it or not. And then once the smoke cleared, I saw in the distance, I saw a flash of white fall over, and I thought, okay, that happened. But as far as me being able to read my work through my sights, so to speak, couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
It was moist out that morning. That smoke just hung in the air. But yeah, that's.
And some of these guys could do these. Shot, be up in less than 30 seconds. Back to,
There's a trick behind that. So actually, there's a couple different ways you could speed up the process. So some folks carry 2 different diameters balls, right? So the larger ones with the patch, but if you're being chased or you're using this as a defensive tool, for example, a smaller diameter ball that you can just basically roll down the barrel. It didn't even require a ramrod. And that, for distances like this, as long as you didn't turn the gun upside down, the ball stayed in there and it would be accurate enough at distance that you could turn around and load it that much faster. Another thing that they would do is they would pre-patch their balls, right? So they would take the round balls and they would wrap the linen around it, stitch it up, and they would carry that in their hunting pouch. So and they were pre-lubricated, so they just pulled out a single unit, put it in there, and then
kind of like your modern idea of like a bullet with its compactor and everything like that.
Yep. So all done simply to speed up the process, if you will. Something that I'll try eventually. I haven't tried it yet, just because I don't need to be in that big of a hurry.
Yeah, definitely
if I don't
not.
shoot the gun that day, it just goes home and stays loaded in the corner, and I'll keep it that way all during.
What originally went in that door right there? Was that the?
So that's a patch box. you carry extra patch material. This is just a greased piece of cotton that I use for like oiling, keeping everything greased up when it rains. That's just that's deer tallow on there. That might be bear grease. It's one of the two. So I try to keep this thing oiled and lubricated with.
Yeah, because these are like, I mean, I don't know about this particular one, but back in the day, these were like hammered, right? They weren't like, that was how forging a barrel was done, just red hot and hammer it into shape, which is.
Yeah, every barrel started out as a flat piece of iron, and it was molded, rounded over a steel rod. That's what formed the bore. And then they were welded all down the barrel, and then these flats were filed, and well, they were hammered into it. Then they were eventually filed down to smooth them out, and then the bore would be drilled out with this big long cylindrical drill. As he rifled it, it became consistently the same diameter all the way down.
Might not even have been steam-driven industry at that time. They might have just been doing it by hand. Yeah.
The big wheel. So basically, the rifling is made. It's a gigantic wooden screw. All right, it's a gigantic wooden turn screw. It's extremely twice the length of the barrel. So, and as it's moving, like so the threads of the screw are causing the rifling to be cut in with the mirror image as the blade turns. And so what they used paper shims underneath the. As they were cutting it out, they would put small pieces of paper, and they would stack the paper on top of each other until it got to a consistent cutting, and that's how they knew that the barrel was the consistent diameter the whole way down. Yeah, pretty neat.
Very cool.
There are still people that make that stuff. It's crazy.
Really?
Like Forged and Fire and stuff. Yeah, those guys just go crazy with the forges. Well, it's been great talking to you, man.
Yeah,
What's your name?
Well, Anthony.
Anthony. You got like a website or anything you want to plug?
I don't know.
Oh, good.
This is just something I do for a hobby.
Well, y'all come down to Fort Yargo. There's some cool stuff going on down here.
Yeah, have a good one, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who?
He's The Wealth Around Us.
Yeah, on YouTube, The Wealth Around
he'll
Us.
put it up, and we're trying to get.
It's
people
like
coming from
like
Atlanta.
outdoors and foraging and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
The Wealth Around Us.
I'll check
On
it out.
YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Is he starting to wail on the metal yet? Yep. Yeah, come on down, Mike. It's in that same, it's across from that same cabin we went in for. Forcing air up underneath the coal. Dulcimer music. Take you inside the fort, show you. The Fort Yargo was a bar. Screw these Comanches, as long as we have a bar, we're gonna be all right. Now, it's been rearranged in here. Upstairs is more beds, but there was a bar here and a barrel on the and a barrel table and all that, and there's jugs of whiskey. But this was the original fort. Red clay and hay chinking. There's another 50 caliber rifle, looks like a replica. And two more. They're firing up the beehive oven. There's where soldiers like and long hunters like Anthony would have been hanging out back in the day. And these steps. Can you imagine the rattlesnakes up under there? Outside from there, you can fire weapons. There's removable blocks of wood, like right here. Where, you know, if you were Injun Joe coming past here with your tomahawk, there was a good chance you were going to take a pistol ball from some guy inside there. There's another one. Another one. And you can see the block. They could just pop that puppy out right there and just put a pistol ball in you. And fire's going nice and low, which will be important for later when they're cooking dinner. Fat wood, very good thing to have. Attention to detail. I like this handmade broom here. Oh, that looks nice again.
Just on one side. The other one was fine, but it was the one I was having trouble with from the front cylinder anyway. After that, and even after the battery fell out. But I'm gonna order a set of, I'm gonna actually go to Cobra and set up the cheap $10 ones I put in.
I probably wouldn't have come this year if y'all had said y'all weren't coming. I'd have been like, nope.
Give him a plug. That's a cool pull tent right there. Wow, look at those tables these people do. Those are great.
Yeah, that's a 1920s recipe, and they would actually use powder in the 18th century powder right there.
I gotta get me one of those tents.
I'll come back.
Oh wow, I think I just found my Mecca. Elk chili.